So in this video, I'm going to introduce Visual Studio Code and show you basically how to get an empty folder up and running to run Python scripts. Visual Studio Code is Microsoft's free text editor and lightweight IDE, so that's integrated development environment that allows you to write code and run scripts as well. Works with a bunch of languages, Python, JavaScript, .NET. It's got a whole bunch of capabilities here. We're just going to use a few of them. So I have created an empty folder here called Demo Visual Studio, Demo VS, and it's got nothing in it right now. I'm going to go down through these icons here. The top one is the folder view, and that opens and closes the folder view. The second one is a search and replace for looking through all of your files. This is really powerful search and replace capability. The third one is a Git view, which we'll get into in a second. The fourth one is debugging and running your scripts, and I'm going to go through that as well. And then the last one here is the marketplace, and there are a ton of extensions for Visual Studio Code. Everything to do with like code extensions, to do with visualizing your files different ways, so you can look at your CSV files as tables. Some of the linting ones are the best, which actually kind of highlight and color your code different ways. Let's actually use Visual Studio Code. Oh, there's one more area I was just going to show you. I'm going to Command K or Control K on Windows, and that brings up this terminal area down here that we're going to use as well. All right, so let's actually get it going for Python here. So we're going to create a new file, demo.py, and in this file we're going to write the world's simplest Python script, and I'm just going to save that. So let's go ahead and try and run that now. We can run it from the command line here, and that's just literally running the script. If we want to debug it and actually step through the code, we can click this little bug icon here, and it's telling us that we have not set up a launch.json file. That's basically the configuration file that Visual Studio Code uses to say how to run each script. Remember that this editor can run JavaScript and C#, etc. So we need a specific way to tell it that, hey, this is a Python file. So I'm going to click on Python file. Going to close the suggestion. Visual Studio Code has a lot of suggestions. It detects what you're doing and tries to make intelligent choices for you. Some of those are quite good, such as the linting tools, etc. Here we're just going to run a Python configuration file, and it's of type Python. It's the current file that's open in the editor, and we're going to use the integrated terminal. So let's go back now, and now at the current file in the editor is this demo.py. And up here on the debugging tools, up here you've got this current file. And you just click the play button down here. And then notice that it's launching up the debugger, and it printed hello world, and now we're back at the terminal here. So what this means is I can actually put a breakpoint in my script by clicking the margin here. And when I debug it again, it sets up. And now I've paused here. Now here you can see all the local variables that I have, and I haven't actually created any. So and notice this little pop-up menu here for stepping through the code. So what we'll do here is we just create a bunch of those, set some variables. We'll put a breakpoint underneath those now. We'll run the file again. And this time you'll see that in the locals we've got the variables here. And there's a ton of capabilities here. I can change those variables. I can set breakpoints to be conditional when variables hit certain values, etc. I can also step through the code here. So if I want to move to the next line, I can do that. I can step into functions, out of functions, and then I can also just relaunch the script. Okay, so that is the basic. We can have more of these configurations. So I'm actually just going to copy that block, put it here, and I'm going to say demo. And instead of the current file, I'm actually going to run demo.py. And I can also add down here some args, and I'm going to send in another input. Now when I come across to demo, I can drop this down and I can actually pick demo from this list, and now it's always demo that I'm going to be running at. So I might have multiple text windows open, but it's always going to be demo that I'm running here. So we got in here, and if I wanted to, I could pass that argument that I'd sent into the script that way. So launch.json is a really powerful file. A couple of really cool keystrokes in Visual Studio Code. Control P brings up a file finder, which when you get big folders can be really powerful. Use Control P all the time. Control Shift P or Command Shift P brings up this very important settings menu, the Magic P or the command palette, if you like. And you can get to the user settings here. Now, I'm not going to go through these. There are a trillion of different user settings here. If you want to change anything in Visual Studio Code, you can. It's incredible, the configuration that you can have here. I strongly recommend using the search, looking for different configurations, and look online. There's demonstrations on how to do everything here. Probably we want to put this in Git, commit this, and start working on it like a proper tool. So let's go ahead. We're going to click the source control button here, and it's telling us that we don't have a Git repository. So we could initialize one down here on the command line, but we can also just click this button. Now we've got a hidden Git folder. It's telling us that we have two changes not committed. So we've got demo.py is a new file and launch.json. I personally do not use these buttons here for using the Git commands. You can explore those if you want to. What you can do is down here, you can use Git at the command line, the natural way of using Git. And so git.add, I'm going to add both those files. So now I'm back at a clean Visual Studio. So you'll notice that the reminder on Git here has gone. If I just going to make that change, save the file. Now what you'll notice here is that this Git tab is keeping track of my changes. So it's showing me the old version of the file here, and then the changes that I've made, in green being insertions. I guess I should go back and I should actually delete something. Now it's showing me I've deleted that line and I've added this line. I use this feature all the time. I'll work for 15 minutes or half an hour, realize that I've come to the end of a feature and I want to commit it. I might have a handful of files here that I've made changes to, and I will keep these views up while I'm down the bottom saying, yeah, okay, it's Git demo I want to work on, and now I'm going to explain my changes. The working tree is back. It's clean because I've committed those changes, and now I can carry on. Another feature that I use in Visual Studio Code is this Problems tab. This can be quite handy if you just have an error in your script. So I'm just going to write the word except here, which is not allowed. It's going to list all of my invalid syntax problems down here, and so that's a nice little summary of how to go about fixing things in a file. If you have linting turned on or a coding standard, it will warn you when you're not compliant with that standard, whether your indentations are wrong or you haven't written code comments, etc. It's also really useful in XML files. If you're using a namespace, so a rule set with the XML file, it will warn you when you contravene any rules in that XML standard. So that's basically it. Quick intro to Visual Studio Code, getting up and running with Python, setting up a Git repository, and running and debugging some code.